allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning. Comes a bright yellow jacket for the door.
Yeah, I see, he's coming up the steps.
That be our reporter?
Yeah, we'll talk slow, give him a chance, get up here.
Richard.
Good morning, Richard.
Told you to stay home and get your eye thing taken care of.
We need to amend the agenda
If I stay home, I will
to
not.
add,
Well,
approve the hire
don't
of a
do that either.
full-time jailer,
You can't see anything.
effective May 1st.
I move we approve the agenda with the addition of hiring a full-time jailer effective May 1st. Second.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes for 4/24/17?
I would make the motion to approve the minutes of the past meeting.
I will second.
I have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think, general public concerns, you're probably here for later. Okay, at this moment, I think we'll slip in here the, new jailer position.
This would be for Jennifer Green.
Jennifer.
She's currently a part-time person down there, and she'll be the newest full-time jailer, effective today at the rate of $16.30 per hour. So this is Dean's recommendation.
You need a motion for that approval?
Yes, we
I would
do.
make the motion for that approval.
All right, thank you, Eric.
I'll second.
Second by Bruce, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We'll go down to, the DD 171 HPPA.
Do you want to do some of the stuff at the bottom?
Probably
or-
should. Let's go down here and
Yeah, sure.
authorize chairman to sign renewal forms for IGHCP insurance. Denise was here last week, talked to us about our increase. I think
Those
she,
are the numbers we're set with, was what she told us, 6 point. Is that what my memory serves me, 6 point something?
Yep.
Right. Even though it doesn't specifically say.
they don't say that on
Yeah,
here, but,
that's what the numbers reflect too.
I would make that motion to authorize Rick to sign that.
Second.
I have a first and a second, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, you got that, you got this one, and you got this one. I think that's it.
All of these, huh? Okay.
One more.
I might sign
There's a
them
lot.
here in a minute, I'll just stack them over here.
That's right, we got them.
Okay, discussion and action on Watuska Finisher Farm. We had a 14-day notice to contest the decision to approve the draft permit by the IDNR, Iowa DNR.
And I thought Melody said she was gonna, did she talk to you at all?
No, she did not.
Okay.
Was she coming up, do you think?
I thought she said she was going to, but I didn't see her this morning when you were down there, so I don't know if she is.
Should we move it back? Let's hold that
Yeah.
for then in case she does come up.
Okay.
All right, authorize chairman to sign copy of machine lease with Marco Technology for LLC for auditor's office machine.
And we're gonna have to table that. She was supposed to get the papers to me by Friday, and they did not, they weren't in the mail. I looked for them,
Okay,
so she must have gotten busy.
can I get a motion to table that?
Motion to table that till Peggy gets information.
All right,
Second.
second by Dave. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, committee reports.
Moving pretty fast, 98:35.
How time flies when you're having fun, right?
I don't have mine all prepared like somebody usually does, but I'll try to get the ones that I went through. We had the, work session last Monday with Paul afterwards on, the ditches and the driveways. 25th, Friday, or excuse me, 25th, Tuesday, we had our UDMO, poly call over in Eagle Grove. Like all the other boards and all the other, groups that are out there, they're all worried about the budget and being funding cut, programs cut, so UDMO is already, facing some huge uphill climbs and worried about some of the funding that will trickle down through to all the different counties. And at 7 o'clock, I went down to Fort Dodge on the 25th and for CFR fundraising meeting down there. The 26th at 1 o'clock out at the secondary roads for the pre-construction meeting for the, blacktopping. On the 27th, I was back in Webster City for the CFR meeting at 5 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock, we had our general meeting. There also got some issues with some of the funding. Some of the things that, just the, counseling that CFR does in the Fort Dodge prison, with some of them cutbacks, it could cost that group over $80,000 just in, and so if that, happens, there's gonna be less prisoners that are gonna be able to be getting counseled in the Fort Dodge prison, which will hurt all areas. On Friday, I went to the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Board in Eldora. Everything's running well down there. We voted to bring 2 more counties into that group, so, we're almost north to south to the border, and adding Dubuque, we're to the east side of the state, and, so we're operating full steam ahead over there. I have their, auditor report. Everything looks good, we went over that. So that's our copy since we're, part of that. Everything looks good for the numbers there. Yesterday, CFR had their meeting, family picnic down at Fort Dodge for, all of their workers, so I went down through Fort Dodge and attended, that for, I think they had like 75, 80 employees there, so it was a nice outing for them to get together and have a little fellowship, and I think they, gave out some awards for all of their people, so that's all I did.
Bruce, you make me sound like I didn't do anything after that report.
That's my week from you-know-where else.
On Wednesday, I went to Elkader, which is, I left here at 6:30 in the morning, had a 3-hour meeting, 3 hours over, 3-hour meeting, 3 hours back. That was that mental health meeting. And basically, we spent the first hour with a roundtable discussion, talking about the strong points, the challenges, the weak points, and the threats of that organization. And it was kind of an eye-opener from all the people in the 22 counties to bring forth those things, as well as some of the providers. And after that discussion, we decided to close all the offices throughout the 22 county area on May 9th, and let all the staff members get together and talk about it. The other ones that's on the, so, our people here in this office will be invited to that meeting too. So I think it's gonna help to have, rather than just supervisors telling them what's going on, see what's really happening on the ground level. So that was Wednesday at Elkader, and then I got back here on Friday. We had a bid letting for the daycare. We had 7 bidders, and they were all real close. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, we're gonna award one of those bids, and right now it appears that Sands is gonna get $1,185,000. Depends on the adds and subtracts, but they're in the lead right now. They varied from 185 to 1195, so it was awful close. 7 bidders. So we hope to get that kicked off before long. We gotta get that fundraising going, get the county and the city and the hospital off the hook. We're having trouble with that so far, but we'll keep trying. We got enough money to build the thing, but we don't wanna get stuck with that 40% of that second 500,000. So we need people to step up and help us out. I was also at a meeting on Monday for the work session. Okay, Dave, it's all yours.
Monday I was at that work session. Wednesday was out to the pre-construction meeting for the blacktopping or asphalting of the roads at 1 o'clock. Then I went to a Midas meeting at 4:30 and 5 down at Fort Dodge. We talked about a lot of different things. One thing that, a contract to assist in development of multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan for Humboldt County. We approved that, tentatively, unless the government comes back with some other wording. They sent some wording that they wanted in it, and unless it comes back real strange, we'll be a contract coming up for us to sign, on the mitigation. They wrote off some of the DART, some of the RTA, people that hadn't paid. They usually do that once a year, I guess. And they're looking for counties and cities, they're still looking for a housing inspection program. And so far, they haven't got enough interest in it for these rental houses to bring them up to code and inspect them. Other than that one, that's all I had.
I did not attend any real formal meetings. The Wednesday, the blacktop pre-construction meeting, secondary roads. But then on Thursday, I was out and actually physically looked at the drainage district number 33 drainage well closure problem. And I got up to speed on that, and that was on Thursday. So that is the two things I did last week.
I had no meetings last week. Alrighty. Oh, Melody's here. Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. Why don't you come out?
We waited for you.
We knew you were, hoping you were coming, so
Yeah.
we've been flying through stuff quick this morning.
You're all set between now and adjournment. Believe that. Another bridge for sale.
Yeah.
Okay, this here is discussion and action on Watuska Finisher Farm. We have a 14-day notice to contest decision to approve a draft permitted by the Iowa DNR. This is a farm.
This is the one that is just north of the State Tower, there north of Bradgate.
And this is the one we declined.
Yes, because they were double dipping, so to
Yeah.
speak, with the manure. And I read in here, and they went ahead and granted those 30 points and said that, you know, the DNR allows that. Then why do we have to have master matrix? Why do we have to have easements and understand where they're spreading the manure if they can use the same ground for two different farms?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not following our resolution. They're not recording them. None of this has been recorded. So, I don't know what you guys want to do. I guess I'm frustrated because, you know, we're trying to do what's right and make sure that they're not spreading manure, too much manure, on any given farm. And it's kind of a double standard because, you know, they hold us to the water quality. It's going to seep into the groundwater.
Because we passed a resolution that these things need to be recorded.
Right, the easements need to be recorded. It's either 65 or 66, and we had sent them into Cindy Garza at the Mason City Field Office.
Mm-hmm.
Problem we get into, even if we turn it down, we'll probably get our hands slapped and it'll go anyway.
I know.
That's
But this sets a precedence with this company too, though, if they, I guess I want you to look at it two ways, because if we go ahead and just don't do anything, then this company is just gonna go ahead and keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Because right now, Mr. Kretschmer does not wanna send us 6 copies, and that's in the first ordinance. I believe maybe that's 65, and then the recording of the easements might be 66. But we require 6 copies when they turn in a new application, and he's not wanting to follow through with that either. So, I don't know, it's up to you guys, but, you know, this one actually is the least of the worst evils. There's not houses near it, you know, there's not...
But the purpose of our ordinance is so that we have these recorded.
Right, and we know where they're spreading the manure.
Is, per your research, just to get up to speed on this, first they didn't meet all the criteria for the master matrix, correct?
They did, and when I scored it, when we went out and we rescored it, we docked them those 30 points off of number 26, because they did not prove to us that the manure that they were spreading, what they
That's where
stated in
didn't-
here...
That's why they didn't make it to the
Right,
total.
for us.
Was too much manure application,
mhm.
so, and...
DNR okayed it,
They
and...
okayed it, but there's no verification,
Yeah, we have no
They-
verification.
other than they okayed it.
Mhm. Mhm. Because it says, on Master Matrix Item 26E, applicant claimed 30 points, county granted 0, DNR granted 30. Applicant's MMP indicate what fields of manure will be applied on, which they did, but it's also indicating, I mean, it's fields that they've already used for the Elmer site as well. And it says, can share fields with other MMPs.
Well, that's unacceptable, because that would be in violation of even a manure management plan. So,
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't see this moving
Yeah.
forward. That, you
I
just
don't
don't...
understand how the state allows it to take place if they're using those acres for another site.
I mean, that's unacceptable. That's just a
It
basic
says
violation.
share, but it doesn't say, I mean,
Well, if they're only using a third of the acres that the other site's supposedly spreading on, then they wouldn't need all of those acres. Then
right.
they could share it,
But they need to,
but they aren't, evidently they aren't, they're using all.
and they're not recording it, so we don't have a true, just because he comes to a meeting and says, oh, we're not using it for this, I don't have any proof
Yeah, we have
that
no
the
record
farmers,
of it.
right, we have no record, we have no hard proof that they're not.
Was there some, excuse me,
Hmm?
mention of that is recorded? It has to be recorded. Manure management plan. You have to know how much manure is spread on what field, at what time, and in what amount. So, I agree with Melody 100%. I would not move forward and grant these people anything just
Well,
with that one
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, that's the only way I asked that it gets recorded, and that we get 6 copies. It's not
Do you
that
see
hard to
the
do.
orange and then the green outlining? That's where they're double dipping.
That's unacceptable. That is not gonna
So,
go.
and ultimately, it's you guys' decision, I'm just bringing you
Well,
what we've found and,
That's it right there, and you found this before.
mhm.
That's what deducted 30 points.
Mhm. Yeah, and Dave,
DNR just says, oh, that, we don't see it, we'll give them the 30 points back.
Well, they registered, the sites they're double dipping on are registered or recorded for another site in 2005, was it?
5, I believe, yeah,
And
Homer site.
now they're using them same sites for
I've
this
seen them
place.
before.
However, it
It's
says
marked
you're
orange
going
with the
back
green around it.
to, you gotta refer it back in front of the, EPC, Environmental Protection Commission in Des Moines. And that's cut and dried before you ever walk in the
Yeah.
door down there,
They sit there with deaf ears.
yeah. You
Then why
get-
do they put a number on the amount of acres that you have to have?
Don't know.
If we turn this down, do we have to go to mine and fight our case, or how do we, where do we go from here?
That's the way it goes to the EPC down there,
Mhm.
and that's cut and dried. You've got 3 hog people on the board, you've got 3 ladies on there, and nothing against them, but they don't know anything. When we was down there in the last one, them ladies never even voted. I was watching them, they never voted. And it's all cut and dried. they've got their big lawyers down there, and it's done, so there's nothing,
If they don't
nothing
jump
the
through the...
county can do, nothing anybody can do,
But
because you're...
can't we turn it down on the fact that they simply haven't recorded it, and that's in our ordinance?
Looks like...
Well, the next step here, according to this, is to go to Des Moines. We turn it down, we apply for a position down there, or a hearing down at Des Moines, like we went to last time.
Well, so be it.
There's quite a few counties now that are actually starting to stand up,
Mhm.
and
And I
trying
think
to have a
if we don't
voice.
fight this, they're not gonna they're just gonna let it set,
Yep.
and they're not gonna change the rules.
They
Yeah.
refuse to follow the procedure.
Well, and there's probably rules in place, but as Dave mentioned, if it goes in front of a board that doesn't pay any attention to the rules, you
Well,
fight.
I look at it, they're there to protect the citizens in the
Right.
water,
Right,
and they sure aren't doing it with this.
exactly.
'Cause, you know, everything's come up with the groundwater and water quality, and to me, this isn't a good steward. This is not
No,
being a good
it's
neighbor,
awful, and, you know, we're faced with this huge
I
task
know.
of closing any drainage wells because of quote-unquote water quality, and then on the flip side, they'll allow, for the sake of argument, double application of manure
Mhm.
without any record.
Yeah.
It's just fine. I say absolutely not. No way, it's fight them tooth and nail on this.
All right, we've had some discussion. I'll look for a motion.
They can, what are we motion, a motion?
I need a motion to approve or deny.
I didn't make a motion to
Watuska
deny this,
Finisher Farm.
deny this.
And I have a second.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Bruce. Any more discussion?
I would make or put that in the motion that it is denied, and the reason being that they've double dipped on the acres.
Another reason we fail to follow procedure as far as recording.
In our
Yeah.
procedure, yeah, that
Yeah, we need all the, paperwork from them,
Mhm.
we require, they haven't turned that in, so.
I think that's pretty simple.
Okay, I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries.
You've done your job.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Melody.
Thanks, Molly. Okay,
I don't have the application, I just got a letter from the DNR. Okay.
now we need to go into drainage.
Um,
Can I get a motion on drainage?
Okay, you're
Got
welcome.
a first,
Second.
second by Dave, all in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna move into drainage.
Great for you.
On this thing we just got to talking about, does that mean we have to go to Des Moines, or will they set a date for us, or?
Oh, they'll set a date and we'll have to go down there and, yeah. I went through that the last time and it was, I was so darn mad when I left it.
Maybe we send Bruce this time, he's bigger.
Yeah, they just make you madder. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't understand how you do the simple, you set a guidelines for them to,
Well, the simple thing of
Go through.
recording it and giving us the 6 copies isn't that
We
hard.
shouldn't have to go to Des Moines on that.
No, you shouldn't.
And you've got, copies there, but that's sandy soil up there. And if you start double dipping on it, double dumping, I should say,
Yeah.
it's gonna go right to the river, 'cause it's right there close to it.
I don't know, see how this shakes out, but from what information I hear, it sounds like the state has a double standard on all this.
Maybe we send John down. He can defend us. I don't know, it's a mess. It's ridiculous, so when they don't follow procedure, we have to run down.
That's right.
Well, it's,
And we go down there, it's all cut and dry.
it's DNR, the whole state,
Waste of money.
I'm very disappointed with the way they manage this at the state level.
Mhm.
It's a mess.
Good morning, Trish. Okay, we have DD 171.
Okay.
What is that?
It's a joint district with Pocahontas and Palo Alto. There's just a little sliver in the northwest, part of the county. And the claim is that,
Let's see, we have a claim at 3 acres at $40 each, is it, for a total of 120?
Yeah,
Okay, is that it?
yeah. Natasha sent me.
What did they repair? It says repair.
It's a beaver trapping.
He said they
Is
trapped.
what it is.
Yeah, number of beavers trapped this location 3.
And they, the Pocahontas side only paid 40.
Yeah, so they pay $43.
And I believe if something deals with beavers I'm not aware of, but. This is, so it's a joint between 3 counties, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pokefell.
This must be our share of the beavers.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the, claim.
So we get one beaver is ours, or is it all
$120.
I'd second motion.
I have a first and a second.
Well, percentage, we only have 2.
We only need to...
All in favor?
Aye.
Before it gets carried away.
Yep. Good call, Rick.
Okay,
Well,
That's
we
all you have
take care
for
of
us for
that
now?
beaver.
and then we'll take care of John here, he's sitting here.
I got a couple of reports I'd just like to give.
Oh,
you,
sure, Rick.
If you don't mind?
You bet.
Okay.
Well,
Anything for you, Rick.
Yeah, right. Okay, these are, I'm gonna officially present these, next week with maps, but I thought I'd get them in your hands. The first one I'm giving you is DD 35 lateral M3, that's the Schultz report.
Oh,
So
Harlan.
I've got, yep, Harlan Schultz report, so I did the, got the preliminary numbers put together for that. Cause I thought it'd be good to just, whoops, sorry, Carl.
I get it.
And the other one, the, DD2 one is Piper, Louise Piper. That's where there's the 4 egg wells, and the one, with Mansky was gonna close the west 2, this is to close these 2. So, you'll be able to look at them. The Schultz one, there's 4 estimates. The first one is the estimate that Mike Borland will pay 75% of. And you'll see that if you get a chance to read it. So that gets the Piper project about that gets the Schultz project about $130,000 in grant money. He's considering see if the landowners would agree to put that towards a bigger project, improving Branch C.
Who is asking?
Schultz is,
He's asking the landowners.
Yeah, yeah.
He'd still get that money,
yes, he'd still get the money.
but it's a bigger project.
Right.
Okay.
And we've already bounced that off Mike Borland. Mike just needs to see a drawing for each of these, and, the state
Not-
engineer with the money.
Okay, but not, there's not a, well, no one knows, because they haven't gone through it, but if they went with a bigger project, which would cost the landowners more, because they
Yep.
pass the drainage well.
Yep.
Will they still get the drainage well closure money?
Yes,
Okay.
Mike has assured us they would.
Okay, that's,
So,
okay.
that's
It's
big.
all based up to 174,000,
Yes.
whether they spend
Yeah, there
almost
you
$1
go.
million.
Exactly,
Wow.
exactly.
I
So,
tried to sign that. You would please.
yep, and the Piper one, I've jacked up the prices to be sure we're covered, and it still comes out like $174 an acre out of pocket, so it's pretty reasonable. It's about 30 to 40% longer than the one that, Mansky's working on, so it's gonna be a little higher, but, still 3/4 money, so. I'll get it in your hands, I'll go over it in more detail.
Thanks, Rick.
You bet, Monday,
Okay.
thanks.
Yes?
Yep.
Any motion to go out, or what?
For John,
John.
you staying here for John?
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Be nice if you would, I think. John, do you wanna come up?
Right, 9 o'clock, he's on time.
Good morning, everyone.
I guess we have to have Peggy come back in though, don't we? Do we have to go to drainage? Can you do this? Is this part of general, or is this part of drainage?
I can go ask her.
I think this is part of drainage, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you better check, make sure.
Good to be here this morning. John Torbert, Executive Director of the Iowa Drainage District Association. For those of you new on the board, I used the opportunity when I was hired 15, 16 years ago. I told the IDDA board that I would make a commitment to visit each of our member counties once a year, because I think FaceTime's important. I think it's important that you see me and know who I am. So this is part of the annual trek out to our member counties. So I appreciate being here and having the opportunity to talk about what's going on in the world of
How many
drainage.
member counties do you have to hit? 25?
Yeah, this year is 27, I think, yeah. And of course, the problem with that is that, you know, it's not like you can take a week and do a county on Monday, a county on Tuesday, a county on Wednesday, a county on Thursday, Friday, because you all generally meet on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so I've got to compress the schedule. But anyway, I enjoy it, it's my favorite part of the job. First of all, talk about what we have going at the federal level. And again, for those of you who have not been on the board before, a little bit of background. Several years ago, I think 2 years ago, the Federal Environmental Protection Agency came forth with a rule called WOTUS, which is Waters of the United States.
Familiar.
And the background is that under current regulation, EPA has the ability to regulate what is called navigable waters. And navigable waters, for lack of there's more technical ways to define it, but basically a navigable water is something you can put a boat in and move around. And a lot of, you know, farm ponds and drainage and everything else has been exempted from that. What EPA sought to do was to redefine what navigable water was, and the effect of that would have been basically to put EPA in charge of every puddle in the United States. That rule actually did go into effect. The day after it was put into effect, there were a number of states that filed suit against the EPA to stop the implementation of the rule. Iowa did not join that suit initially, but they did join later on in the process. And as a result of those lawsuits, the rule was held by the federal court. And they said, we're not going to put it in existence, we're not going to allow it to go into existence until we have such time to determine if the rule is valid or not. So it's sort of been in this holding pattern in limbo land for the last 2 years. Since then, of course, we've had a change of administration in Washington, and we've got a new president, we've got a new EPA administrator, and the EPA administrator is a gentleman who used to be Attorney General in the state of Oklahoma, and Oklahoma was one of the states that filed suit against the rule. So his feelings about the Waters of the United States rule are pretty clear when he was put into EPA. And he has basically said, we're going to back the rule out. It's not something he can sign a document and do away with it. I mean, it does take some time. They have to go through an official process to undo what has been done. But that will happen, and that rule, for all intents and purposes, at some point in time will cease to exist. I don't know how long it'll take, but probably within the next year here or so, that rule will cease to exist. No indication that there's going to be anything to replace that. So my guess would be at this point that we'll go back to the way things were before EPA went through this entire process, and that's the old definition of waters, you know, navigable, using navigable as the definition, which would clearly leave drainage out of it. So we're very pleased about that. Next issue I'll talk about is legislature, and as you know, legislature did adjourn about a week ago now. You know, I heard discussion a little bit on ag drainage wells, and one of the things that we watch very closely in the legislative process is to make sure that we have the appropriations to keep that program going. I know that's a very important program here in Humboldt County, and we did get money appropriated for the next year. I think it's 1.8 million and change. So for another year, the program is safe. That's been a sort of a difficult program over the years. That 1 year, we actually lost appropriations totally. House and Senate got in a dispute and didn't get resolved at the last minute, and funding was stopped for a year, so we had to go back in and try to get the program resurrected, which is not an easy thing to do, but we were able to do that. So the program is in existence for another year. We hope to keep the funding flowing, if you will, until such time that, the remaining wells out there are dealt with in some fashion. You know, I think the last numbers I saw, and I haven't got current numbers in front of me, but the last numbers I saw, the estimate was between $8 and $10 million to close what's out there. Totally?
Remaining?
Yes.
I think that much more.
Yeah. And so we've got 1.8 million this year, so...
Half of those are in Humboldt County.
Yeah, there's a lot in Humboldt County, I know that. And of course, the ones that are left are the tough ones, that's why they're left. The easy ones have been done. The ones that are left are gonna require a lot of engineering, a lot of money, so that's why they're still undone. Or they've got a landowner who doesn't have an interest for whatever reason in the program. But we're hopeful of continuing that funding. The other thing I would mention in the legislative process is that we had, hopes this year that we would see, substantial new funding for water quality programs. You know, felt pretty good going into the session. The House actually, last year, passed a bill, sent it over to the Senate, and the Senate did not act on it. So again, with a new legislature, you know, both sides controlled by one party now, same party as the governor's office, we thought, coming into 2017, that there was a pretty good chance that there would be, substantial new funding for water quality practices, and basically what the funding would be money that would be, you know, cost shared with landowners to put in conservation practices on their lands. So if, somebody wanted to do cover crops, or a buffer strip, or a saturated buffer, or, you know, constructed wetland, whatever, there would be money available to do that. Unfortunately, that bill did not get passed this year. It came down basically, literally, to the last day of the session. And there was a bill, that passed the House that was, authored by, Chip Baltimore, who's a state representative from Boone. There was another bill that passed the Senate. They were different in the amount of money involved, they were different in how they got that money. So quite a bit of, you know, differences that had to be resolved between the House and the Senate. The end result was they just ran out of time. The differences were too great and they ran out of time.
They ran out of time.
Yeah.
But with the state fighting over their budget,
Yeah.
and you suppose they just ran out of money too?
Well, the money was there. I mean, you know, one of the issues was there was quite a bit of difference of opinion on where that money should come from.
Right.
And when you get, you know, you had general agreement that we need to do something on water quality. But to have general agreement and then actually get to the point where you can get a bill that gets, you know, 51 votes and, 51 votes in the House and, excuse me, yeah, you know what I mean. 51 votes in the House, 26 in the Senate, and signed by the governor. Devil's in the details, like anything else. So the approaches were pretty different. And when you're, you know, down to the last 24 hours of the session, and you're trying to get a bill pushed back and forth, and you're trying to get a conference committee set up, and people on the conference committee, and time to meet, and time to get something that, you know, you have pretty much guarantee of support, that you're gonna put something out on the floor, it's gonna get, that's very difficult to do in a short period. It happens, but it's difficult to do in a short period of time. And I think the differences were just too great to overcome in a short period of time. So, you know, the good news is, I think there's still general agreement that there needs to be something done. The good news is that there's bills that have passed the House and the Senate, and, you know, it's been a priority of Governor Branstad's, Lieutenant Governor Reynolds, who seems to be on track to become governor here in the next month or so, has also said that it's one of her priorities. So the players are in place, it's just a matter of getting some resolution to the, you know, the length of the program and the source of the funding. So, you know, another part of that process is, or part of the discussion is, you know, we've got the, Water, Land, and Legacy Fund, which is, basically passed several years ago, that says the next time we have a sales tax increase, 3/8 cent will go to conservation programs. And there were some senators that said we needed to do that. But I feel pretty confident in saying that there was not much, support, backing a sales tax increase. You know, I think everybody thinks that it'd be great if we could have more money for conservation programs, but I think a lot of legislators also realize that if they put that 3/8 cent sales tax in effect, that you're gonna see a lot of campaign ads in a year that so-and-so voted to increase your sales taxes, and a lot of them don't wanna see that. So, you know, we'll be back looking at that when the 2018 legislation comes back in.
Some of the problem with getting that passed in the legislature is bickering over who's gonna pay it, whether the Corn Association, the Bean Association, Des Moines Water Works, the farmer, all these want it done, but they want the other guy to pay for it.
Yeah, that's, you know, the funding
They
is,
come together.
the funding is the issue that has to be resolved, and where the money comes from, yeah, yeah. You know, and I don't care what you're talking about, whether you're talking water quality or anything, you know, trying to create a new large program and fund a new large program is very difficult. That's not unique to water quality, it's, anytime you try to do that, it's gonna be a problem. So, you know, I think we'll get something done eventually, it's just, the numbers have to be right, the timing has to be right, like anything else. So, finish up my conversation with, discussion of the lawsuit by Des Moines Water Works, and, that has been resolved, and I'm very happy to report that. And it's important to know what the basis of the resolution was, because it's very important for drainage to know what the courts said and why they said what they did. Go back in time 2 years ago, and, you know, somebody asked me the other day, has it been 2 years? And I actually had to look it up, because it seems like it's been about 10. But it has been just 2 years. So 2 years ago, in March, suit was filed against 10 drainage districts, 3 counties, by Des Moines Water Works. And it's important to recognize, first of all, that the suit had 2 very distinct parts. First part is the federal component, and the second part was the state component. And the federal component was Des Moines Water Works felt that drainage districts should be regulated under federal law, that you all as trustees should have to get Clean Water Act permits, what are called NPDES permits, so you would have to go to DNR and get a permit to continue to have the ability to drain land in your county. There's no, how that would work was really unclear, because, you know, we've got 3,700 plus drainage districts in the state of Iowa, so are you gonna have 3,700 applications at one time come in for NPDES permits? Was it 1 permit per district? Was it 1 permit per county, which is probably unlikely? Was it 1 permit per land? I mean, nobody knew. The permit doesn't exist, it would have had to have been invented. The process would have had to have been invented, and nobody knew how it would have worked. So anyway, that's the first part. Drainage district can be a point source regulated under the Clean Water Act. The second part was a state component, and those were allegations filed under state law. And basically what Des Moines Water Works said was that drainage districts were a nuisance, they were a private nuisance, they were a public nuisance, they were taking Des Moines Water Works property without just compensation, drainage district immunity should be looked at again by the court. So a number of different aspects under state law that were alleged in the lawsuit. So, that's March of, 2015. So in December of 2015, the attorneys representing the counties, filed a motion in federal court to dismiss the case. And basically said the case shouldn't even be heard, it's without merit, just dismiss it. So that was the motion to the judge. The judge came back in January of 2016 and said, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to take all those state issues, all those state allegations, and I'm gonna shift those down to the Iowa Supreme Court. And I'm gonna have the Iowa Supreme Court give me an opinion on whether the state allegations are valid or not. And once the state Supreme Court sends me that opinion back, I'll make a decision on dismissing the case. So January of 2016, he shifts the state part of the case down to the state Supreme Court. So of course at that time, all the focus shifts to the state Supreme Court. So the state Supreme Court goes through the process and takes motions and all the filings that have to go into a Supreme Court case. IDDA did file a front of the court brief in support of the three counties. Hearing is held in the state Supreme Court in September of 2016, and January then of this year, January of 2017, the state Supreme Court issued their opinion, and they found on behalf of the drainage districts on all the issues that were alleged. So the key things there in terms of the state Supreme Court decision was they reiterated the immunity that you have from a lot of types of lawsuits, which has been in existence for a long time. So the immunity was very important. Secondly, they reiterated what they had said in the past in terms of damages, and that you cannot be held liable for damages. So those were the main components of the state Supreme Court. So we win at the state Supreme Court. Case goes back to the federal court at that point, so the judge, as he indicated, said once I hear from the state Supreme Court, I'll issue my opinion on whether or not the case should be dismissed. And he came out in late March, I believe, and dismissed the case. And basically said it was without merit. And it's important to know the basis of his opinion, and basically he looked at three things. First thing he said was, Des Moines Water Works is a unit of government, drainage districts, for all intents and purposes, are units of government, and you can't have one government suing another government. That's not the way the legal system works. So that was the first thing he said. The suit's invalid based on that. Second thing he said, and he used a long word, but he talked about the issue of redressability. And what he meant by that, he said, was that when you have a case like this and you have allegations, the case is asking the defendants, if it goes through, to do certain things. And we have to look at law before you take that case up and see whether the defendants have the legal ability to do those things that are being asked. And basically he said they don't. That you all as drainage districts don't have the legal authority to do the kinds of things that the suit was hoping that you would do. You don't have the ability to regulate landowners. You don't have the ability to go in and tell the landowner what to do in terms of putting the conservation practice on their land or doing something like that. You don't have the legal ability to go in and monitor, put monitoring sites on drain tile. Said, if you don't have the legal ability to do that, then there's no basis in following through on the suit. He said very specifically, drainage districts are legal entities that the only powers you derive are the powers given to you by the legislature. And legislature, rightfully or wrongfully, has said for the last 100-plus years, since drainage districts were created, that you don't have a water quality responsibility. Said you could have if the legislature determined differently, but it hasn't. So essentially, you know, what I sort of termed loosely the nitrate police, which is what was being envisioned, said isn't possible under state law. As county supervisors, acting as county supervisors, you all have home rule authority. But as county supervisors acting as drainage trustees, you don't. The only powers you have in dealing with your districts are what the state legislature gives you, and the judge said you don't have the kinds of powers that you would need under what Mr. Stowe envisioned in the lawsuit. So that was the second thing. Third thing he said was that, you know, the kinds of things that are being requested in the lawsuit are basically policy issues, and the judge said policy issues should be resolved by the legislature, not by the courts, very clearly. Said if Des Moines Water Works wants new laws determining what drainage districts can and can't do, then it ought to go to the legislature and petition to have those laws changed, like anybody else does. If it's not happy with the status of regulation, and wants DNR to adopt new regulations affecting drainage districts, or wants federal EPA to bring drainage under the Clean Water Act, whatever, whatsoever, then there's ways to get that done, and that's what they should do. The appropriate place for that is in the legislature, is in the regulators, not one federal judge sitting in Sioux City. And he said, so that approach was wrong. So dismissed the case on that ground. So Des Moines Water Works did have 30 days to appeal. They did decide that they're not going to appeal the case, so for all intents and purposes, the case is done. Which we're very gratified about, and I think the judge made the decision on the right basis. I mean, exactly the kinds of things that he said we've been saying for the past 2 years, that this was the wrong place for the suit, drainage districts were the wrong place for the suit, and it shouldn't have never gotten to the point that it did. And the last thing I'd say about it is, you know, I think the suit did a tremendous disservice for a number of reasons. Number one, you know, the financial burden it put on the 3 counties and the 10 districts in terms of trying to figure out how to pay for hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal bills that, you know, are involved in a federal lawsuit. But the second thing is I think the lawsuit left the impression in many people's minds that this was easy. You know, and I think, you know, the perception of some was Des Moines Water Works comes in and sues drainage districts and said, if we win the suit, everything's going to be okay. You know, all this will go away. And that was never going to happen. Even if they had won the suit, that was not going to happen. I mean, seeing the kinds of replumbing and reconfiguration of the landscape that would have to take place, and the amount of dollars that would have to be spent to show a significant increase in water quality in any, you know, body of water takes years and years and years. And suing drainage districts was not going to make that happen, despite the wishes to the contrary. It's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of replumbing of the landscape. And, you know, we can debate whether that's good or bad, but that's, I mean, the scientists have looked at it and said this is what you're going to have to do if you're going to have a significant impact on water quality. You're talking infrastructure changes of up to $2 billion. Talking a lot of buffers, a lot of wetlands, a lot of cover crops, a lot of changes that would have to take place, and those involve costs, and a lot of the times they involve taking land out of production. So these are not easy issues, and the lawsuit sort of left the impression it was an easy issue. It's not. It's a very expensive, time-consuming process. So with that, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
John, there was a question, maybe you can answer this, maybe I should ask Peggy. I think 2 years ago, I think our county, along with 20-some other counties, committed so much money per year for, I think, 3 years. Did he spend all our money, and we can get some back?
Yes and no. The money,
It's gone.
for all intents and purposes, it's gone. We have a little bit of money left in the IDDA fund, but there are still bills unpaid. And one of the things that is going on right now is I've talked to a representative of the 3 counties, and they're getting their bills together to see how much is left. So we may include the 3rd year of assessment. I mean, as a matter of fact, our plan right now is to include the 3rd year of assessment. And if after the 3 years of assessment there is, and all bills were paid and there's money left, yes, there would be money refunded at that point, but we're not there yet.
Thank you.
That was my question. But I knew the answer, but I
Yeah.
was just gonna bring it up.
Yeah, one of the county supervisors told me that, when the lawsuit started, that their attorneys told them that this could go
10, 15 years.
10, 15 years, yeah. Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was resolved 2 years in court time is like infancy. I mean, that's the best possible scenario.
I think it kind of gave the farming community a black eye up in this half
Sure.
of the state that, because I think our farmers do an awesome job doing the best practices they
Mhm.
have available to them by making sure everything that they do, the chemicals and all the stuff that they put on the ground to grow the crop that feeds the world.
Yep.
But it was like, they just pulled out these counties and singled them out and said, well,
Well, they really demonized drainage as a process, and they took a completely legal process on people that have been draining land for decades, and, like I said, demonized the process, and that's very unfortunate. When you have Bill Stowe that comes in and talks, before the suit was filed, and refers to drainage districts as serpents of doom,
Yeah.
his opinion on it was pretty clear, and, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's a good thing to have behind us.
Yeah, it is.
and we're happy we're on this side.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thanks, John.
Thank you, all of you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Warden is drains today, I take it driving out, there's a lot of water sitting out there.
Yeah.
At least it's not white.
Yeah, that's true. Seal.
Thanks. You wanna put in minutes real quick?
Yeah, you wanna come up?
Who wants coffee? Anybody needs coffee?
Sure.
Let me write that down.
Oh, sorry, excuse me.
Drink some coffee?
Hi, Richard. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Coffee there.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit.
Whoever would like that, just pass it along.
Coffee's all right.
I'm good, thanks. I've had enough. I've gone to the restroom several times. That just contributes to it.
Okay, I'll get Rich. There you are, Richard.
Yeah, they probably just sent you
Thank you.
Yeah, I handed out some handouts there in regards to a change order. This is change order number 1 for Drainage District 33, Branch D improvements and ag drainage well closure. It was discovered last week, that the lateral D1 and lateral D4 existing tiles were approximately a foot lower than the original plans. So we were looking at alternatives to meet grade. It was discovered late. Our plans specifically stated to investigate and those tiles before construction begin. Field verify tile locations and elevations before work begins. For some reason, that didn't occur. So there's responsibility on the contractor as well as us for why that didn't occur. And that's unfortunate. However, I think we've come up with a good plan here to replace those existing, lateral D1 is an existing 12-inch clay. Our plan is to replace 750 feet of that with an 18-inch dual-wall HTP perforated tile at a flatter grade, larger pipe at a flatter grade to obtain that elevation difference that is needed. Similar thing is done with lateral D4, replace approximately 700 feet at 24-inch dual-wall HTP perforated tile to replace a 16-inch clay tile on that lateral D4. This A03 map, this first drawing here shows those where lateral D1 and D4 is. They essentially Y from the end of where that 30-inch RCP was gonna end. There's an existing Y that was planned there for the original connections that of course would remain. We also have some plan sheets that we're adding for the plan for the contractor to proceed from. We had a lot of discussions with the contractor on what was the best options. Certainly tearing out and replacing the old, or not the old, but the recently installed 30-inch pipe seemed like a viable option. There was a lot of pushback from the contractor on that just for constructability. And then you have a 30-inch pipe that you need to deal with, and sitting in that old trench indicated would not be nice and to do the construction. So that option, which we thought was viable, was dismissed. Spoke with Mike Borland with Idell's. He was fully in favor of this option, replacing the upstream tile. Recognizes that it provides the drainage needed in that upper portion, and Idell's is willing to participate at 75%. The remaining 25%, the ISG would be responsible for, I believe, and we would make reimbursement to the district for that amount. With this option, the district receives about 1,450 feet of new tile. The downside is they won't have it done by May 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think they were gonna get it done by May 1st with the monsoon that we had.
Well, they would have been done.
They were.
They should have been real close with the weather had,
Yeah,
and
'cause the
that's
day
kind
I
of
was
been
out there, they were gonna be
placed.
done the next day.
Well, they still had a few pipe laying out there, I
Yeah.
assumed they had to be buried somewhere.
Yeah.
My concern is the depth of the cover over when we
Okay.
start.
Yeah, we investigated, we should have, well, on sheet DO3, on this there's a profile there.
There's one.
The second sheet back, it says DO3 on the right corner. That's the lateral D1, that shows 1, 2, 3, almost 4 foot of cover. Generally there. And DO4 shows, about 3 foot of cover to pretty much 3, minimum of 3, up to 4 on the upper end. Over 3.5 on the upper end. So cover is good. That shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
This isn't acceptable.
Okay.
This is not the way it's gonna be fixed.
It is.
No, it's not. Obviously, you made a huge miscalculation at the end of the project, being over a foot, higher instead of over a foot lower. And everything I've researched to date, it will fall squarely back on your firm's, miscalculation of that. Not the contractor, not us, not the landowners. So, this is a big project, it needs to be done correctly, and we have some information in front of us to, help remedy that situation.
Okay. You're proposing something different then?
Absolutely.
Okay. What were you thinking?
Rick, you wanna?
Well, my concern is the 200ths of grade is so flat. I suggest we go back, tear up the end of the tile where the 36 goes to 30, go back to the 42, and start there. Straighten it, flatten it out there, and go with a larger pipe to pick it up. So that when we get to the end, we're lower.
And,
Because the problem is, 200ths of a % grade, that's damn near flat.
but it shows, I mean, that shows the capacity, actually more capacity than what the existing tile has, so.
It's got capacity,
If it isn't moving.
but if it ain't moving.
Well, there's a
And
lot,
then also our concerns, if you wanna tie into it, now, when you wanna go out and tile out further, you can't because you don't have the grade. Because the pipe isn't deep enough, because now that new pipe lays a foot higher in the ground than the old one.
well, but there's still plenty of cover on that to get plenty of grade on that, there should be. Again, calculation-wise, it shows, you know, more capacity than what the existing pipe has. I realize that's a shallow grade. But I don't believe that will impact the system. We did, as I mentioned, look at replacing that 30-inch with a 36-inch tile, at a flatter grade, and that made some sense to me,
Yeah.
just the fact that you're only replacing 400 feet,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, you don't have to mess with a much more longer length of pipe upstream. I agree, but
Mhm.
the pushback was significant with the contractor. He didn't want to do it.
Well, yeah,
No, there's no doubt it's a mess up, but the problem is, we're not gonna Band-Aid fix this to appease anybody.
Well, this is not a Band-Aid.
It is.
I don't
It
believe
is. It is. It
You're
is.
getting, it's brand-new pipe
That, well,
to replace an old clay.
that's not gonna happen, because the project was done incorrectly. This proposal of replacing from 30 to 36 and some 36 to 42 will remedy and put it back almost to the spot on of the way that this should have been done. and that is how it's gonna be done. Because, like Rick mentioned, you're taking a risk, an unnecessary risk, and it was not an engineered risk for anything additional carrying upstream, if you will, with that existing time. So, it's just unacceptable. We have something here that, is workable, it's been looked through.
Can I see what you have?
When you said you guys researched taking some of that pipe out in order to go backwards and try to make up some of your 12 to 15 inches, how far back does that put you taking pipe out?
The 30-inch at a .15 grade would have obtained that. This is showing .05% grade even for both the 42-inch and the 30-inch. Well, yeah, that's fine. I think replacing just the 30-inch with a 36-inch would achieve what's needed to be done.
We're not gonna allow that. This was actually checked out, and it will be done to this specification, or it will screw up the capacity and the flow because of the mistake in the elevation with the first go-round. So, it does need the 36 replaced with the 42, and it needs the 30 replaced with the 36.
I don't believe you need to go back that far, but we can certainly look at that.
Well,
Yeah, we're not gonna sign this change order. I think we need to investigate this further.
Well, again, Holland Contracting isn't here, and,
Yeah, I know, 'cause Holland hasn't made the mistake, and I don't know who's gonna do the work even, 'cause they've probably got other things they have to do.
well, they didn't wanna do this option, replacing that.
Mhm. 'Cause it takes a lot of time.
Well, there's concerns with what do you
Because
do
you
with
could-
the existing pipe, and what do you do with, sitting in an old trench
Mhm.
that's been dug out and backfilled in?
well, the bottom line.
But the bottom of the
You make
trench will be
it correct.
But, I mean, we've looked at these things.
Right, but this,
Eric, and it has to be constructible.
it will be constructible. It will be constructible. And just as a food for thought, and you can go back and think about this, the fact that you made a humongous screw up here. There's, the cardinal sin of engineering drainage is to have your elevation wrong when you end. I mean, there's no excuse for that. So, on this proposal, where you have to remove 30-inch pipe at the end of this project, it is quite possible to reuse that 30-inch pipe and figure out which one of these laterals, if you will, and the watershed that it drains would benefit by some additional drainage moving in that direction. Then you can just relay the 30-inch pipe in that direction, potentially parallel to one of the laterals existing, and that's future drainage for the landowners. I mean, not only, and we do feel for the contractor, because had this been done correctly, it would, for all practical intents and purposes, be done. And we are the trustees for the drainage district and the landowners of the drainage district. So, we are not gonna have this piecemeal together, and we want future drainage, as this was.
'Cause this is planned for 150 years.
Yes.
So we're not gonna cobble it together and
No.
try to make it work.
I don't believe this is a cobble at all, but...
Well, we do.
But there are other options.
Well,
Good.
you can explore them, but I wanted to throw that out, of the possibility of reusing the 30-inch pipe as maybe a token of your appreciation for screwing this up, to have the future drainage, set it up as such, with the proper fittings and that when the job is finished. Because, yeah, it is set up, like Rick said, this is something that's for many, many years. I mean, long past anybody here's lifetime. And it has to be done correctly. The fact that it was malfunctioned and engineered improperly is not our fault. And we aren't gonna coddle the engineering company to piecemeal it and Band-Aid it together and say, oh, we'll move on. That's the bottom line.
We don't expect to be coddled in any means.
Rich, do you have any comment on, I mean, you're the, it's going out across your...
But I've got good hands to take care of it.
Well, I mean,
This
you're,
all started, I knew there was something wrong right away, but I didn't get my intake. Virgil got his intake, and they come to my land, and they went right by it without putting my intake in. I knew there was something wrong right away. Why didn't I get that intake?
Well, the intake was gonna be installed later.
Why didn't Virgil's get
Come
installed
off,
later?
because that was a junction box that was planned.
There isn't
And
even plans where it was gonna be. They asked me where you want it, Richard, so that's your job.
well, but wherever we put it wouldn't be in the right spot. We wanna have your input, we can recommend the spot, but we want your approval. And that was always the idea, that would be installed later. So you're gonna get your intake issue.
Well, you know, I had Marshall doing all this tile in preparation of this, but I also said, Marshall, you better put in some intakes for me because this probably won't get done for several years. So he did put in 2, and those 2 are where I wanted to pay for a big one, and you guys pay for a big one, but it looks like I'm getting nothing.
You will get an intake.
There's nothing on the paper that says I'm gonna get one.
No, you will get an intake.
Well, just like I talked to Marshall, he said, all this tile I laid for you, he said, it's not gonna do this to get into the main. It's not gonna do that.
Well, Kent, I think you need to go back to your, company and come up with a more suitable suggestion plan.
So you're in favor of replacing the existing?
That's why I wanna see
laying the
it
existing.
done right,
Absolutely.
the way it was supposed to be done. And if there's any extra 30-inch pipe out there, I know you can't return them, let's lay them somewhere else. so
Use
you
them
do
on
good.
this project?
Yes.
And the bottom line of it is, it's the engineering company's time. Because it's your mistake.
Could I ask one other question?
Sure.
Who was in charge of saying, let's start digging holes through Richards Field over to the east, and then holes all the way to the gravel road? Whose idea was that?
Well, we had to determine where that existing tile was and what depths.
I've used probes and found that. My corn was planted in there, put end rows all the way around the project, so they could go, and it's a joke. It's a joke. Yep.
I would say that, none of us like wet weather right now, but, given the fact that we have it, if you have a little bit of time, because you can't go out and do anything under these conditions, I would suggest getting this figured out in the real near future, and then when the conditions allowed, getting it taken care of.
Oh, sure, yeah, we will be right on that.
Absolutely. And, obviously, Richard brings up the salient point, there's additional crop damage, this should have been done. He, Virgil, anyone else in that area would have been able to plant their crop when it dried up. You'll also pick up any additional crop damage moving forward, too. So, that,
well, it's unfortunate, but...
It is unfortunate.
It is. I mean, you didn't set out, in all fairness, nobody set out to make a mistake, but it does happen, and you have to hold the people accountable that where it did happen.
And we are, I take full responsibility.
'Cause I know you are a good company, so.
I gotta add that too. With the last meeting, when I was here, there was 3 young guys, and you and another fellow sitting here, and I was so impressed with you and the board, how hard they were working to get this thing done. And I went away so happy that I knew we wouldn't have one problem. Because you're all good people, and I've made a mistake once or twice myself.
And I'm sorry, yeah, it's not what I intended to happen.
No, it isn't that you set out to create any
And-
issues, but
I take full responsibility.
Well, thanks, Kent.
Well, we just gotta come to the best conclusion we can get from here out, and I think
Well,
that
Absolutely, and
if we
I
come up with it, we'll get it figured out.
I thought we had a good one here, you guys aren't in favor of that, we will,
no.
let's research further. I mean, is this absolutely the only thing that you'll accept, or can we come up with?
Basically, I mean, you have the option, you can go back and start over. But, you
I don't know
know,
who's gonna do it,
well,
not at this
yeah.
point. I mean, this point in the season, you're,
right, but, I mean, it's,
But
you kinda have to deal with the fact,
That's the issue we wanna consider, I mean, are you okay in trying to get another contractor to come in
That's
to
the issue
do
we're gonna
this?
have, 'cause Holland, I'm sure, is booked for the rest of summer.
Yeah,
And we'll probably have to bring someone else in.
but other people don't wanna come in on somebody
Somebody else's
else's
work.
project.
So that
So-
might be an issue.
but be as, that as it may, we have to make this right.
They are willing, and they've signed this change order that I presented today, they are willing to do this.
Well, so they were willing to do, you know, the kind of other fix forward, or
Yeah.
upstream.
Yeah.
You know, and I will not speak for them or anybody else, but if they were willing, knowing that that was gonna increase their time on site,
Well,
granted, this proposal, which I think is very sound, this is not something that, you know, we drew up in the bar at midnight. This has been researched and checked out. It would take a little longer, but I don't know that it would take that much longer, so.
Well, I don't know that the length of time, I don't know is their concern. I think just the constructability conditions when you're
In a trench.
in a trench,
Right.
in the same trench,
It is unfortunate, but it is doable. But it's unfortunate, but doable. And, I mean, there again, you have to speak to them as the contracting side of it, their company, but
I mean,
they did say, yes, we'll spend some more time there. Well, they spend a little bit more time there. They seem to do very good work. They're very conscientious, and if they are willing to, we may be able to continue on with the same company.
I'd like to, because they're a good company.
That's what I mean.
yeah, we want them back.
So, it's a tough deal, but granted, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna get paid for what they do, extended amount of time. So, maybe, Kent, in your researching of all this, it might obviously be a good idea to check and see, you know, they're willing to do some additional work that this adds on, I don't know. I mean, an extra day or so past the original thought process, will they do it?
well, and this original change order provided for another 15 days to do that work.
15? Well, there again, I'm not a contractor, but under good conditions, I'm not so sure that this proposed fix, correct fix, would take any longer. Well, there, I mean, I really think that, you know, there again, I'm not speaking for anyone, I'm just saying the option is,
Yeah.
they perhaps would go with the
That's
change
out of
order.
my territory, so I don't know, but...
They would consider it, and I would sure ask them, without making any great assumptions of needing a different contractor, because they already agreed to 15 days, so.
Question?
Yes,
Do you
Richard?
have additional help with your input?
Did I?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
Can I ask who?
No.
I've made multiple calls, different contractors, different engineering firms. We're just not pulling this out of the air.
But I will tell you that, there again, my facetious comment about not doing this, you know, over cocktails is honest to God truth. This was put together and researched by qualified people.
Thank you.
Well, not only that, but it's been a miserable weekend for all of us, I mean.
Well, yes, I mean,
And you included, 'cause I'm sure you
I
haven't slept
spent-
well either.
I was so darn happy this project was just about done, everything was going well, and when I
Yeah.
got that call, I think I
Like,
got an
shoot.
ulcer.
On behalf of the landowners, the trustees, and to a degree, the engineering and contracting company, I spent a lot of time putting this together for the good of everyone.
Yes.
And I felt it's due diligence, and that's, I think, why we're coming to this conclusion, to continue that and get this fixed properly.
I know I'm damn glad to have you guys here today. I know that. I'm thankful that you guys are here. Yep.
Alrighty, well, thanks, Ken, for coming.
Let us know as quick as possible once you talk to the other powers that be.
Yeah.
Because the time is of the essence when it gets dried up.
And I've lost my agenda. Down here buried somewhere. There it is. Okay. What's this here?
Approved.
Oh, we got, all right, this is on the same topic. We have approved pay estimate number 2 to Holland Contracting Corp.
Is his coat over there? Did he grab his coat?
No.
Kent, did you leave your coat?
The only reason I noticed it was an Iowa
All right.
State coat.
Now, this is another tough issue. These guys have done work, and they've done a good job, but their instructions were wrong. I don't know if we should talk to our drainage attorney before we proceed, or if we should... do we have claims next week?
Sure,
Yeah,
should be.
yeah, because we didn't have them this week.
Well, yeah,
First of the month.
I don't know.
Just,
What's the board's opinion on this? On
well,
pay,
tell me the pay estimate.
pay estimate, how much?
Tell me how much it is first off.
Probably $1,075.60.
Mount Due, one,
Work
yeah,
they've completed.
Directly to Holland Contracting.
to Holland, so we'll have we've already paid them $177.
Where does that put us at for what their bid was?
It doesn't give a percentage, but I think their bid was like 300 and some.
324.
323.9, so 324,000.
So it puts it over 2/3 of their total.
Yeah. Gives them a total of,
I mean, I don't,
Well,
I don't.
you're,
Goodness, is they got the,
it was,
it was done according to the plan.
they
So
followed
did
it,
what
they were
did.
not off on any of their, you know, I'm not an engineer or a contractor. Elevations, as it was staked, as they followed it, they came out exactly where they were supposed to. The problem was, the stake, the elevation, with the depth, all that stuff was incorrect. They followed an incorrect plan, but
Yes.
they did not screw anything up. The only thing they thought was
It's
weather.
been beautiful, I mean.
Yeah,
The only thing they thought was weather.
Excellent job.
yeah. How about a motion like, approve pay estimate with approval from our drainage attorney, so we can contact them and...
I'd make that motion
I
that
would second.
we, check with their attorney and
And
see
you're-
what, and then we can visit with Holland.
Further
and make
discussion
sure.
on this would be your concern because it's not
Because it's gonna be a
complete.
mess, possibly, hopefully we haven't...
I would say check with the drainage attorney with the concern.
Mhm.
And if he says, you know, just that's it.
Just to let him know how far we are on what they've been paid, versus what they have left to be paid, versus what they have left
By,
to do.
as I see this, and as we've gone through all this, that anything extenuating from the estimate and, you know, their total payment, the engineering company's paying for it, not us.
Definitely.
Well,
So-
but the simple fact that we have to make sure that we're in good faith with Holland, 'cause they're a good company.
Well, I said,
We
it is
want them
not
back here.
their
It isn't.
thing, and I do think that's a good idea with our concern of the malfunction, to get his, you know, blessing, his educated
We
opinion.
should be able to get a hold of him, can't we?
Yes, we'll give them a call today.
Okay.
Yeah, the project they got is like 96% completed.
Yeah, and
And
that's
that's about where
about
they're
right.
sitting.
That's about right.
96%.
Yep. So,
If you was running a ditcher, putting in new tile, from the dredge ditch to mine, wouldn't you notice when you hook these two tiles together that, what's the matter? What's the matter? Shouldn't you have noticed that before you got to the end, that each one of these tiles are fitting in a different elevation on the bay?
The ones that are crossing, you mean?
They surely
The
hooked
lateral.
up my tiles, this new tile, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm sure they have.
Wouldn't they notice that, hey, this is changing every time they made it hook up?
Mhm. And some of,
You know, we should have caught that, somebody should have been catching that was going into that new tile at a different elevation.
That was my question, and when I asked him how far back he'd have to tear up, because I still
I
don't
would like an
understand.
answer on that.
I would.
Yes, I would.
Somewhere, we gotta figure out how far back we'd have to go
I would
before we
wager
started,
all
that
this
elevation
from
started really
Virgil's-
coming.
Virgil's line is about where it changed.
I wonder if we shouldn't do some spot checking and have a second engineering firm confirm our numbers.
I would not argue with that.
Well, because if we're clear back to the beginning,
No, it isn't, I don't think.
oh, I don't think we're that far either, but we never have got that answer,
That's
Rich.
true,
And when
that's
we're
true.
searching, when you ask,
That's true. Yeah.
Could I interject, because I did a lot of research on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an engineer, I'm not a contractor, but like I said, people far more qualified than me looked at this. And their professional opinion was that the engineering plans from original could have and probably should have started at a deeper elevation where it started, in the ditch. Had they done that, they could have used slightly smaller tile for the same exact project, because obviously more grade, doesn't take as big a tile, and I just wanted to speak to, you know, the whole grade obviously would have been a bit deeper, the tile would have been a bit smaller, the cost would have been a bit less. So, there is potential there that this was kind of halfway loused up from the start. The project as presented with the size, the grade, and all that would have worked just fine had they taken the correct elevations to begin with. Maybe could have been done better, but that's, you know, not, you wouldn't have ever tore up the whole thing and started over because you could have done something. If they'd have followed it, if they'd have checked their elevations, if it would have went in there,
Yeah,
it would have alleviated all of these. We wouldn't be having this exact conversation.
Yeah, if their ending elevation would have been right, Ching.
But obviously, the ending elevation
was off.
and I'm not an engineer, I don't stake these things out, but I would take a pretty educated guess that the ending elevation being correct would have altered the elevations moving back downstream. Can I ask a professional's opinion of that?
I'd just throw this much out. I looked at this just enough to see that if you tore out the 30 and the 36, that's like 757 feet. You can pick up that, capacity. You might have to go a little larger with some of that.
And that's,
But you can get enough grade change in that 757 feet.
like I said,
Didn't they use at all the old main for a guide?
Yeah, we had given them, scary thought I had, there was a note on my desk when I got back in the office last Friday that there was a problem. And I thought, oh man, we gave them elevations of that old tile. Well, I didn't leave the office that night till I looked, and our elevations were fine.
Was it copied from the old main?
No, we actually went out there and dug it up with that, what
You
you
know-
said, a couple years ago.
Well, you know, I've got an intake on top of it. And if I was a fisherman, I would have to have that big a sinker that water is going by at 3/4 capacity of that old main of my intake. And you would have to have a sinker this long, big, to fish right there. So it was put in right, the old one.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
We
if you
found
went by
balls.
that,
Yeah,
and
we
it's supposed
exposed
to
it.
be going right beside it, right?
Yes, we exposed it several places, quite a while ago, back when we were first working on this, and that's the information we provided. But I went and looked and compared,
You
and
go to
we
the
were
dredge
right on.
ditch and watch the water come out of that main, you're gonna say, whoa, it's great. It was right. All they had to do was go beside it.
We pulled out the profile we'd assigned to it too, because we couldn't help but be curious how it ended up compared to how we were headed in our preliminary report. And we did start 2 feet deeper, but that's an engineering decision.
there again, and Rick, thank you, because this, obviously, we appreciate your professional opinion, and it's just a lot of things. I would guess that we scrap the proposal, that they go any further upstream, if you will, and try to relay tile, which is a great thing. Those clay tile, which visually looking at them, look to be in pristine condition. I hope that if I'm 100 and some years old, that I would look that good. Well, anyway, probably hand dug. You just don't have much grade and stuff to give up to work with.
Mhm.
Rick brought up a good point, depth, not, leave those be. They were designed to leave those be, and so,
The new pipe that was put in is not real deep. I mean, it has plenty of cover, but it's not like you're digging a trench that was dug 25 feet before. It's
Right.
maybe 7 or 8 feet.
yes.
It's doable,
And
it's just
to
expensive.
speak to
It's
depth,
doable, takes time, it's miserable working conditions.
What do you,
Yes.
what are the, telling
The bells,
chances of breaking those bells when you, 'cause you gotta pull those away and then up.
That's the
And that's
challenge.
the part where they clang,
Yes.
and
That is the tricky part. You have
that's the
to-
part where we need them hooked together, because if they do come back and break the bell, then basically it's
Yeah,
a loss, unless
Yeah.
that's to the top, and it still could suck dirt.
that's right. It's not easy. We had a contractor in one of your jobs 4 or 5 years ago that relayed, or that misled, he put in the wrong grade, we caught it, but he'd already got over 1,000 feet in. They on their own went back and dug it up and relayed it at the correct grade, so it's
How big a
doable.
tile?
It was a good size, probably, at least 30, a bit bigger.
so, I mean, these are issues that do happen, so.
they
think
do,
that's
and I
correct.
mean, they carry insurance as well.
Mhm.
And, like I said, it's not malicious, but
No.
it's a mistake.
No, it's not, it's just a mistake that happened and it'll get
It's
corrected.
unfortunate, and I don't think anybody planned on it.
You think it's just one man's failure?
Somebody, I don't know how engineers, I would think someone checked and someone double checked.
Here's
and
what someone
triple-checked.
mentioned, and it was the contractor. They exposed the tile at the upper end. He's suspicious, and not my words, that the guy in the field shot the top of the pipe, and the designer thought he shot
At
the
the
bottom of
bottom.
the pipe.
It's very,
It can be that simple.
Mhm.
Now, I agree with Rick, I mean, I was there, I didn't crawl down in the hole, but I see that, and if you take the differential in elevation, comes about spot on.
Yep.
Yeah,
So, it's a mistake, but it's a cardinal sin mistake of drainage.
mhm.
And this is a multi-$1,000 project.
That's why you measure twice and cut once.
Bingo.
Clay.
I
So,
don't feel comfortable on any of our jobs till we're at the upper end and are tied in. You
No.
always have that,
Nightmare.
yeah,
All right,
that's why you triple check.
yes.
He turned one,
Good work.
So, on that,
okay.
So we're gonna, we
Have
did
proof
vote,
pay
we
estimate?
Yes,
got,
we have a motion to, pay Holland pay estimate number 2 with the approval from our drainage attorney.
just,
We have a
yeah.
first and
Of
a second.
100 and,
Well,
What was
I've
that
made the
amount again?
motion. You seconded it.
okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any
On
opposed?
his advice, right?
Yep. Any opposed?
was it again?
It is, $101,075.80.
About the same as a beat writer for the Humboldt.
About what you make a month, man.
Yeah.
And then you had this too, are you gonna act on that, or,
I don't know if we can we?
I don't know,
Being it's not on the agenda.
okay.
What's the question?
To have a motion to have another engineering firm look at the whole project, make sure the elevation at the ag well's right, and all that
How about we
stuff.
put it on next week's agenda for the discussion to decide?
Yes, that would be a good idea. So hopefully by then they'll have us a response from them.
You better.
I bet our name's being taken in vain now.
Well, my conversation I had with him on whatever day that was, Wednesday, I think I heard about it. I made it quite clear to him who was paying for it.
Well, I don't think anybody's trying to be unreasonable, but I think that,
No, there's no unreasonability here, it's their
I'm just
fault.
saying, the people that are paying the bill expect nothing less. We didn't go out
This is it.
looking for this, it
There's just no
just gotta
way,
be good,
shape, or
so.
form.
I think Kent walked out here with the idea he's gonna make it right.
I think
I
so.
think
Yeah.
so.
Completely right, Carl, correct.
It's not what they asked for. It's not
Oh.
what they were paying for, so
Yes, okay, drainage wise, I think we are done, Trish. Do you have anything else for us?
No, I just, oh, no, I got
No,
it.
she does have a bill.
Pass that to Eric, please.
Oh, I'll see what that's all about.
I had Trish
Yes.
add on to the agenda for next week, to present the DD2 lateral M annexation and preliminary engineering report, so we've got about 5 things.
Okay.
So have you visited with Harlan then on this numbers that you gave him?
No, I just got it done.
I didn't know if you got it
late
in
last
hand.
week, and
All right.
no.
Alrighty. Anything else from the board, drainage?
Motion to go out of drainage.
First,
Yeah.
second from Bruce, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, we're back in general session.
5-minute recess.
Yep, we'll take a 5-minute recess while Peggy comes back.
I wanna thank all of you. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you, thank you.
Take care of
Well,
it.
we'll get it right.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
What is DD 33?
Northeast of town here, about,
Humboldt?
yeah, about 5-6 miles out.
Okay. And how did this come to light? You mentioned a phone call?
I got a phone call from Kent Rhodey on Wednesday afternoon telling me their elevation was wrong.
Okay, so he discovered the mistake.
Well, the contractor, when they dig up the
Yeah.
pipe they're gonna hook onto it, realized they were too high.
Okay.
And they were going by the engineering
Oh,
numbers for
okay.
elevations.
Okay.
I'm good, that's the one kind I'd like to have. I don't, you just don't, there's no waffling, there's no, I want him to go back with a clear understanding of what they're
Yeah.
gonna take care of. I don't want any question.
Oh, no, I think he got it pretty clear.
Good.
Well, I think that it's just what you said. Someone measured the top of that tile.
Oh, it's very obvious that's what they've done.
Someone,
Well, and the thing of it is, and I don't like to go back and, unbury the dead, but they also probably poorly designed that project.
well, this is...
They should have been a
this
little
was
deeper to
dated-
begin with in case of error.
They should have been deeper, they could have went with smaller tiles.
This was presented on 3/7 of 16. That's the day they did their proposal, 'cause...
And there was a lot of
Year ago.
malfunction across the whole deal. And unfortunately, it ended up as a malfunction. Unacceptable.
Well,
But like you say, they have insurance for these
Well,
reasons, and they're gonna...
I know they didn't go in and try to design it wrong, but they just ended up goofed up.
unfortunately, we are gonna accept...
And I figured as much, that they were going to try to get by as easy and quick
Oh,
and
of
cheap as
course.
possible.
Of course. You know, put a little putty on it and paint it, it'll look fine.
Yep.
Are you willing to share this, design that you guys came up with, or whoever, and you're not willing to say who,
No, it's
who
really
it was,
not,
I guess,
it's a
but-
suggestion.
Okay,
It's
well, could I even look at it to kinda see what you're, I know it's bigger pipe down at the far end, is kinda what you're talking about doing, or
I don't know where-
suggesting anyway, whether that's what ends up gets done, I don't know, but just so I can say, hey, there was an alternate presented, and this is kinda what it was.
Well, I lost mine already, how can I lose it that quick? It's gotta be here somewhere.
Maybe you guys are working with the engineer. I don't know, Eric, do you have your copy?
I do. What would you like to look at?
Oh, I gave mine to Kent, that's why I don't have mine.
Sorry about that.
No,
you're fine. I was
not liable to give yours to the press.
I was trying to
You came up with.
sneak the password, I was thinking of anything I could think of.
You probably wouldn't think of it.
That was really more than...
You
It's
did.
the same
Next time
password I
I'll-
use for my computer, so I don't make it public here, Bob. I should not have two
If you're
separate.
not willing to say.
Well, I'm just...
Who did it, then it's kind of...
I'm not gonna say who did this, I mean, let's say that it was...
Right, guys?
You know, it's
Definitely.
basically replacing
You guys have a-
that...
354 feet then,
Right,
and right now this is 36.
correct, and this is...
Bob, I looked for that,
in simplistic language,
application.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that.
Really? Oh.
Melanie thought she gave it back to me, but all she gave me was just a few papers that told me I should deny
Right,
it.
Okay.
and that
I think I may
replaces...
have that information from before. so
Oh, okay.
anyway.
All
But
right.
thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
In doing this, it gets this below...
That makes you the
This is where the screw...
Right.
The screw bit is the end of it.
Okay.
It's too high. So this
Yeah,
was
it looks all
lower with
good.
the capacity.
All you can do is
the way
smell
it's
it.
supposed to be.
Is this the correct elevation then, Eric, this one?
No, this is current.
Okay.
That's not the correct elevation.
Okay.
Take one home for tomorrow.
So,
And about how far is this span from 400 feet?
and then
That's not fair.
30-inch tile.
You
See,
can't
they could
charge
take
if
this
it doesn't.
36-inch and become this 36-inch. More, you know, it may take a little extra.
Right.
This 30, the proposal
We have been
is
the
to
pro with
actually,
this today.
with this wide,
Oh, that's
wide,
good.
I don't know about that.
actually two pipe junctions.
It
Wanna
is,
reload, Paul?
it's just stuff we have to go
I just
through.
filled it up.
For just,
Oh, this part.
You guys are extra long-winded around here,
You know.
and it wasn't even the engineer, this engineer involved, so.
If you ran into somebody's-
Somehow he was trying to pull us in, but he had not even a road crossing on
I
this.
just wanted to see if I couldn't hook you a little
I don't know
bit.
if you should write that or not, but that's kind of the thing.
We wanna share our loss.
They're gonna end up with,
Before satellite technology, it was always a huge deal to take the survey, and keep doing all the turns up 5 miles of drainage ditch, and then go, and you could never explain it to people why you were going down the road or whatever, traversing, trying to get back to that original hub, to turn it, to make sure, to close the survey. And then the farmers see in surveying the shortest route back to the hub, they're trying to go, what are you idiots doing out here? The drainage ditch is over there.
the last several days, but, you can
I
research
see,
with engineers,
John's on his way, huh?
contract, this one.
Yeah, he did earlier in the week.
They wanna end up lower.
Is that on camera?
I know, I did some work for them a year ago, about now, redid their kitchen.
Significant.
Oh, is it cooked in, it's not
She's
even,
not in it either.
No, she's not very good at all. I mean, they could have a dough, you know, just.
Did you have a daughter-in-law worked out in the office?
Yeah, well, it's too bad, like I said, it already got into the...
So who's the Williams?
Well, as I say, you know,
Who's the Williams gal that died?
yeah.
A Williams.
I didn't know that
think of
name
whatever
either.
analogies, but.
Because I didn't know if it was,
You know, it's not.
Virgil's.
No,
This is kinda what we talked about.
I don't, she was in church Sunday, I don't think so.
Well, she'd not been in great shape.
No, well, ever since
You guys
their
want that?
Well, I didn't know.
Battery back, then we'll be okay, and we'll plug it right.
Because I would've figured he'd have been here.
Yeah, he was pretty good yesterday at church.
Well, Rick made a good point. This was engineered and designed and put in the ground for.
Rick, are you?
I'm gonna have one of those almond joy cookies, 'cause I've never had one.
Oh, there's,
Hopefully you don't have to deal with it.
They look awful good.
And then you go ahead. and-
That's how you
Peggy, do you wanna,
Oh, yeah, we just basically got to, adjourn.
I don't know.
See if Peggy has anything else.
Very good.
That told him to do, so
They can go back and shoot if you want.
well, I think Peggy's gonna take one, but she's pretty busy here.
I like having the fact that this is a direct
Oh, wow.
They may well be you didn't have that information. What do we know?
Was it delicious?
Do we have anything past this work session?
We got just a little bit left, and then we can get to the work session, then we can get out of here.
Well, I'm just counting on this being extremely short, and I'm running out of time for
All
another
right,
appointment.
okay, let's come out of recess back into regular session.
Okay,
Are we on?
I'll just be real close here.
That's fine.
No, yes, we are.
Okay, we're back in regular session. I think we've kinda gone through the agenda. I think, is there anything else you have for the board?
Had one question, on our application for a renewal of our insurance. It says on here that we cover legally married, common law, and domestic partners is not checked. I don't know that they ever addressed that with us and asked us if we wanted to do that or not, so I'm asking you at this point. And we'll need to, right now, the only two boxes that are checked are, legally married and common law.
They never mentioned anything about that down at our
Who was asking
meeting.
the question?
The insurance
Insurance
company, on our renewal papers, Chris and I were going over, making sure that everything on here is, matches, because sometimes I'll mess up a number or something on it. And we noticed that one section there, and it wasn't checked domestic partners, and that's very common nowadays to cover
Yeah.
all of those situations, and that wasn't checked, so we thought we better ask you.
Was that on our form from last year?
No.
Oh, they just added it to the form, I see, so it's a new form.
Well, it could have been on the form, it wasn't checked.
Oh, okay.
So we were thinking, hey, if we plan on covering everyone, then we would need to check that box, so we would need your approval for that. So I don't know what your thoughts are. If you wanna leave it the way it is, you
Problem
can.
leaving it unchecked.
That's
No.
entirely up to you guys.
I know, but it's not legal,
Yeah.
Are we doing something illegal if we say that's our decision and we don't check that box?
I don't know.
They can
I would check with
If
John.
we're not doing something illegal,
We could talk to John about
I would
that.
I'd
ask
just visit
John.
with John and see what he thinks.
I mean, obviously, but if,
Okay, that's finally logged in.
We've got enough issues going on without jumping out on the end of the limb.
well, we don't need, but if it's not an outright legal matter, I say we don't.
It's not legally mandated, you mean?
Right.
I just-
Suggest we go ahead and refer this to John and sign it accordingly.
Okay.
Yep.
I would say so.
Alrighty,
I'm sorry, what was the decision? again?
I'm gonna talk with John
Okay,
about it, and if he suggests I sign it, or check it, we'll check it, and if he says we don't have to, we won't.
that sounds good.
Okay. Any other discussion we need to have before we adjourn?
Did need to check with Carl real quick, Travis, and I hope I'm saying this right, Wilkin from the city has agreed to be on that homeward housing board. And Carl, you were suggested as another member. Are you
Barry was
willing?
there, wasn't he? Yeah, I
Right.
told him I'd do it.
Okay, then the next Monday's meeting I'll have on the agenda to approve those two appointments,
Okay.
those members. Because Cheryl Reed's no longer going to be on, and apparently you're not.
Yeah, I think Carl's gonna, Carl, you're gonna be on that, aren't you, the homeward housing?
I've got my arm twisted, I said I would.
Yeah. Okay. One other
They'll do
thing,
good.
are you done? Okay, one other thing that got brought to my attention, Dean Kruger told me the insurance adjuster said there's between $3,000 to $4,000 damage to the roof on the LEC. We had the roofing company come and look, it's mainly dents in flashings. The rubber roof is fine, it's more cosmetic. And obviously, nobody can see it unless you're up above. And I know some of the secondary roads buildings had some damage, some issues we'll probably have to discuss, whether we need to replace them, if it's just
What's the
cosmetic.
deductible, worth the deductible?
I haven't talked to the insurance company
That
yet.
was easy to see, if it doesn't cost anything, go ahead and do it, but if it's got a high deductible, who cares what they look like?
My insurance guy said that wouldn't go towards, they just put it on there that they looked at it. There's 25% damage, the next time it hails, it won't be brought back that you already had 25%.
This issue here, in my opinion, if you're up there trying to tear these off and replace them,
Gonna do more damage?
it's gonna do more damage than,
I like Bruce's adjuster, they made note of it. I'm thinking they made note of it and left it alone.
Yep.
yeah,
See if we can make note of it and leave it
I
alone.
think that's what we should do.
But do make note of it,
Mhm.
because the next hailstorm might do something worse.
Yeah,
They totaled the roof on the Dakota City shop,
that's what I heard.
and it's whatever it takes to replace it. We have an estimate, I think, $6,000 or $7,000 right now to remove and replace.
Mhm.
What's their
And I think,
deductible there?
I spoke with, Todd Lee, and they've had lots of their, little buildings and things. The office, one side got totaled, so there's a lot of things there going on.
They had two-thirds.
Anything else?
Yeah, as long as you brought up the roof, the courthouse roof also had some damage
Three-year life
to it,
expectancy.
and we have an estimate for repairs. They suggested replacing that, there's like a rubber membrane up there, and,
Oh,
yeah, it's got some holes
I
and
know,
stuff in
I
it.
think that.
So they suggested, yeah, so I'm gonna call the people who did it before,
Adjust,
if that's all right with you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than have somebody,
Is that hydro roofing?
yes.
Mhm.
Shady part of the country, but we'll work
Not
with them.
many times.
Yeah, you gotta watch them people from that area.
Well, on the roof, you gotta watch too, when the sun gets hot up there this summer, them might be little indents underneath and they'll crack that out.
They could. Mhm.
So we'll have to have them inspected
Maybe come
again,
back,
maybe
take a
in the
look.
summer.
And look at it again, that's a good idea.
Okay. Anything else?
I'd move adjourn.
Got a motion to adjourn,
Second.
a second by Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
That